there's a lot of upsides to kayak fishing. I mean, I am sitting in this Kayak right now. I got pedal powered, I got my fish finder, 6 rod holders, catch board, everything I could possibly need to go fishing. I can go on and talk about the upsides to kayak fishing, but here's 14 things people hate about it. Number one thing I hear a lot is loading and unloading, and I get it. These things can be heavy. I know my kayak weighs around 130 pounds bare, so I'm probably looking at around 200 pounds right now. And not everybody has a trailer. And so some of you guys get these things on top of roof racks, and it is a lot of work to put these up and down, up and down. I get it, and the older I get, the harder it is. So although some may hate it, there's definitely some upsides to being so mobile, right? You are not limited to a boat ramp. And one of the number one advantages of a kayak angler is because it is only weighs 200 pounds. You can get it into places that boats can't get to. And so use that to your advantage. I know it's not for everybody, and that's definitely a reason some people think kayak fishing sucks. All right, number 2 reason people think kayak fishing sucks, it can be expensive. Now there's a whole debate, I hear it a lot of times, like, oh, why don't you just buy a boat for what you spent on your fishing kayak? You know, sometimes, I mean, if you buy a Sun Dolphin, you're gonna be in it for $300, right? You can catch fish out of that. But if you get a kayak fishing specific yak, I mean, these things are gonna cost you anywhere from, you know, $700 to $6,000. And the argument is, why don't you just get a boat with the amount of money? Well, the problem with that, if you get a boat for that amount, right, a lot of times you're getting a used boat, and because of that, you're getting a motor that is older than you are, and it's gonna be nothing but problems for you. Not only that, these kayaks have a whole heck of a lot less maintenance, no oil changes, so forth and so on. Actually, I take a little deeper dive on this. I did a video not too long ago. Essentially, I called it 18 reasons kayak fishing destroys boat fishing. So I'll throw that in the link below. You can check that out. Third reason people kind of think kayak fishing sucks is that they had a bad experience one time. Have you ever been on vacation and rented one of those recreational kayaks? Those things are great for about 20 minutes until you can't feel your butt anymore because you're sitting on hard plastic. So that is the beauty of kayak fishing. These things are absolutely incredible when you're out fishing 6, 7, 8 hours a day. I'm literally sitting in a lawn chair right now. And not only that, I mean, one of the things that doesn't get talked about a whole lot when it comes to kayak fishing is if you are fishing from one of those sit-in kayaks, your field of view is abysmal. I just got done fishing from one just last weekend, and I can't see a thing. I can't see the weed lines, I can't see the structure, I can't spot fish, and it makes it really, really difficult to fish. And so by getting one of these sit-on-top fishing kayaks, your field of view is so much better, and it's really going to increase your angling game. Another reason people think kayak fishing sucks is because of the range. I came from a boat before I got in, before I upgraded to a fishing kayak, and if you're paddling, you're not going to have a lot of range on that bad boy. You're not going to be able, you're only going to get, you know, you're only going to be able to go around a very small part of the lake unless you're pulling that in and out and driving around to each of the boat ramps around the lake. If you got a pedal power, I mean, this is going to be great for your 500 to 2,500 acre lakes. But some of these bad boys, you can throw a motor on and you can get around the lake. Now, they're not going 60 miles an hour like a bass boat will on the water. You might get 4 or 5 miles per hour when you hook up a motor on your fishing kayak. But there is definitely something to be said for kayak fishing and just, what the freaking, get out, freaking geese everywhere. But here's the advantage of that, right? I know when I had a boat, basically I'd rip to a spot, fish it. If I wasn't catching anything, I'd start up the motor, I'd rip to another spot, fish it. And what I found out that whenever I got into kayak fishing is most of the time, I'm just running over fish to get the more fish. And kayak fishing is a slower way of fishing. And because of it, guys, I mean, I catch, you know, you can figure out your spots and you know, you can get your fish there. Guys, I've caught some of my biggest fish over the years fishing from spot to spot. And that's what kind of kayak fishing forces you to do. It forces you to slow down, maybe cast in a place you wouldn't cast before. And man, I think you'll be happy with your results. Another reason people think kayak fishing sucks is because whenever they've been out in a kayak potentially, they're fishing big recreation lakes. And I don't actually fish those a whole lot. As you can see, the only thing causing a commotion around here is a bunch of freaking geese. But if you're out there with boaters and skiers and tubers and jet skiers, One, it could be dangerous for you, especially if it's your first time, right? They're gonna kick up wake. Two, we've all seen the videos where fishing kayaks just sometimes don't get seen by boaters. And there's been instances where people get hit by boats. There's been really close calls by boats. Some people do it on purpose for whatever reason. I've heard it said, you know, fishing kayaks are speed bumps, which is just ridiculous, just irresponsible on the water. Or fishing those big wreck lakes is just gonna suck, in my opinion, just because all of the commotion that you have to be able to watch out for. It's just less relaxing for me, so I like to stay on these lakes. So once again, use your advantage as a kayak angler and get on those lakes where not a lot of people act. Guys, those lakes and those ponds with no boat ramps, those are underfished, folks. Another reason people don't like kayak fishing is because of storage, right? On a boat, a lot of times you just keep it on the trailer. No one's gonna pick the boat up off your trailer and steal it. Now, granted, they could steal the trailer with the boat on it, but you just can't leave your fishing kayak out in your trailer, out in your garage. These things don't weigh that much. In a matter of about 15 seconds, someone can lift it and take off with it. And so you really got to find a place to get it out of sight. And a lot of times our garage is already full of stuff. And so storage is sometimes an issue for a lot of people. And so that's why a lot of people go to inflatable kayaks. There's a lot of great options out there for that. But if you have a garage and you're like, hey, where in the world am I gonna store this thing? I have a sick option for you. Did a battery powered kayak hoist, which lifts 2-3 of my kayaks up to the ceiling. The thing is, you're gonna need a 10-foot ceiling in your garage to be able to do that. So I will throw that link of how I built that in my garage, and I'll throw that in the description below. Another reason people think kayak fishing, I'm gonna murder these geese. Another reason people think kayak fishing sucks is because it's work. I mean, you hop in a boat and you just rip the motor and you go. But with kayak fishing, you gotta load, you gotta unload. If you're not wet launching your kayak, if you're paddling all day, that's extra work. If you're pedaling all day, that's extra work. They're kind of awkward angles, so you're using muscles you typically don't use. So I get it, it's extra work, but the advantage of that, I don't know for you guys, but I literally sit in a chair for 8 hours a day at work. And so by getting out here and doing a little bit of physical activity, I'm able to stay in better shape than I would have if I just had a boat. So something to think about. Another reason people think kayak fishing sucks is because they have to sit and fish the entire time, which is not necessarily true. Now, if you have a sit-in kayak or a really small one, a really narrow one, you're not gonna be able to stand up. But a lot of these fishing kayaks, this Bonafide, I stand and fish all of the time. And I know those of you coming from a boat are used to kind of standing and moving around a lot of times. And I know I just took my dad out fishing. He was just starting to get into kayak fishing a little bit. And after a few hours, he's like, man, my back hurts. And so, yeah, you can get out of your kayak and on the shore and kind of stretch it out. But some people just don't like sitting the entire time. I actually love it. I think this is super comfortable. It's like I'm sitting in a lawn chair. But hey, some people, not a fan. Another bummer for a lot of kayaks is obviously there's no bathroom on it. There's no bathroom on boats either, but it's really easy, at least for males, to go to the restroom. So unless you have like the center console that kind of pops out when your motor gets in and makes it really easy to go to the restroom, then you know what? Kayak fishing might not be for you if you need to go all the time. Another reason people think kayak fishing sucks is that there's a lot to get caught up on. And I noticed this because I took my wife out fishing for the first time, took my dad out fishing for the second or third time, and man, you really have to relearn a lot of different things. I really had to learn how to side cast on the fishing kayak, because a lot of times I'd throw this behind it and it'd get caught up in my rods and it'd be a hot mess. There's tethers you gotta worry about. It's a really tight, confined space, and there's a lot to get caught up on. So now, if you're just getting into it and you're like, man, yes, that absolutely sucks, I do want to let you know that over time, you figure this out. You learn to side cast, you learn to skip, you don't knock your phone out anymore. You really dial it in, and it really becomes an enjoyable experience for you. But it's going to take you 4 or 5 times out in the water. Where am I going to put my fish finder? Where am I going to put my paddle? How am I going to set up my rods? Am I going to have them stick up behind me? Am I going to put them on a rod stager? And you really got to dial in your fishing kayak for your needs. So if you're a little discouraged starting out, don't be. Give it a little time. You'll end up dialing in where you want it, and it'll be perfect for you. Another reason people think kayak fishing sucks is basically access in and out of the kayak. Through some of the research and some of the past videos that I've done, I was trying to figure out, how do people get injured the most when it comes to kayak fishing? and it is getting in and out of the kayak. It's either slip and fall. A lot of people do it incorrectly. They kind of just push their kayak up onto the shore, and they leave this like 5 or 6 inches between the front and the back of the kayak that you like put your hand under, and so it's really wobbly and people slip and they fall and they get hurt. That's just kind of, I get it, but this is one of the reasons people don't like fishing kayaks, because boats a lot of times are a little bit easier, a lot more stable to get in and out of. So definitely something to think about. I know myself, I have really good balance, but I know for others that is an issue for you. And so there are some kayaks you can buy to mitigate those risks that have a higher stability on that. So check out some of my other videos I've done. All right, moving on to the next one. All right, this one really sucks, and it is the wind. And I mean, you're gonna deal with this to a degree on a boat as well, but when it's 5-6 miles an hour, it's not a big deal. When it starts getting to 7 to 12 miles an hour and you're fishing from a kayak, it's gonna blow you all over the place. But it's kind of second nature for me now that I've been doing it for a while. I got a pedal powered, I'm able to move it, adjust the rudder, and I can fish in, I fished in 25-mile-per-hour winds before. And caught fish doing it, and so that's why I stay out there. So there's a lot of options out there. If you want to fish in the wind, you can get anchor trolleys, you can get a pedal power kayak to help you manage that a bit better. You can get motors that can help you kind of stay and on kind of spot lock. So a lot of options out there. Nonetheless, you get pushed around a whole lot more when fishing from a kayak than you would a boat. Another reason people think kayak fishing sucks is because of the real estate. Guys, there's not a lot of room on these fishing kayaks, especially if you're coming over from a boat. I was recently fishing in Tennessee with a fella, and I opened up his hatch. There's like 30 rods and reels, probably 20 tackle boxes. It had everything that you possibly needed at any given time. And so kayak fishing is not going to be able to give that for you. You have a kayak crate, you've got some under the seat options. You can get really creative with that, but use this to your advantage as a kayak angler. I know for me, since I can't carry everything that I own when it comes to fishing, I really have to think through. I got to study the lake, I got to study the spawning stages. I really got to think before going out in the water. In a boat, you can kind of figure it out in the water, and for some guys that works for them. For me, I found a lot of success putting in the work and doing the planning and figuring out where are these bass going to be when I hit the water in my fishing kayak. And so I don't need to carry a whole lot with me because I've really dialed that in for the season and for the lake that I'm fishing. So that's definitely an advantage for me, because I believe a goal without a plan is just a wish. And so I really like having a plan. So kayak fishing really forces me to do that. All right, so let's end on a positive note. Tell me one thing you absolutely love about kayak fishing in the comments below. And if you're interested about the setup for this Bonafide P127, I did my full rig review. You can check that out right there.